Page 98. Writing. Essay writing. To learn how to write an essay, please go to a video that I made on essay writing. Okay, you can just type Dr. Maria Justina Gray, flipped classroom, and you can see a video which I made for my class. Okay, it has everything about how to write a good essay. Right, let's move to page 99. After you watch the video, you can come to page 99. At the bottom of the page, we have information about types of essays. Essays can be of different types, depending on the purpose they achieve. It is important to know the purpose for which an essay is being written, as this can partly influence the structure, the style, and content. Given below are some quick features of the major essay types: descriptive, narrative, informative or expository, argumentative, and exploratory. These types differ in terms of treatment of a topic. Let us look at the features of each of these types. Descriptive. A descriptive essay can be a description of a place or a thing. It need not be limited to a visual description. It should include the other senses of perception like hearing, smelling, touch, etc. It can be structured based on the different aspects of the description. For example, my city at rush hour. Next, we have narrative. A narrative essay recounts an event, an incident, or an experience, or retells a story. It is often written from the writer's personal perspective. The thoughts, feelings, and attitudes of the writer towards a subject matter are conveyed to the reader. For example, the day the tsunami struck. Next, informative or expository essay. This type of essay conveys information to the readers. It focuses on factual details. It requires some amount of research. The type of information will determine the structure of the essay. One should avoid overload of information, technical jargon, and complex detailing. For example, wearable technology. Next, exploratory essay. An exploratory essay takes a subject matter, often a problem statement, and analyzes it in detail. It unravels the layers of complexity and goes to the heart of the problem. It tries to find a solution to the problem, or at the very least, makes suggestions to help find one. For example, disaster management practices in India, challenges and solutions. Next, we have the last one, argumentative essays. An argumentative essay seeks to convince the reader to accept the writer's point of view. Arguments need to be constructed carefully and supported by evidence. It often takes a stand but can also accommodate opposing points of view. For example, should Indian industry shift its focus from the services sector to manufacturing? Now, let us look at argumentative essays in detail. Page 100, Argumentative Essays. We are at the bottom of the page. Argumentative essays. An argumentative essay is based on a debatable topic and attempts to convince the reader to accept an opinion or to take some action or both. In such an essay, the authors usually explore an issue fully and consider different perspectives, assumptions, reasons, and evidence to reach an informed position. Let's look at a sample argumentative essay. Please read the essay. So we can see that the title of the essay is Exploitation in Child Beauty Pageants. It is 6 a.m. on a Friday morning and Mari is about to awaken her 18-month-old baby Sarah to prepare her for a long weekend of makeup, hairspray, and gowns. Sarah is one of the thousands of babies forced into the many children's beauty pageants that are held all over America each year. Mari is among the many over-demanding and pushy parents who pressure their budding innocent children into beauty pageants each year. This whole obsession with beauty pageants and the severe distress it causes the young children is wrong. The title. The thesis statement that child beauty pageants are wrong is made citing an individual case. Children's beauty pageants are judged on the following criteria: modeling, sportswear and evening wear, how well the girls dance, and how much talent they have. Approximately 250,000 children participate in pageants each year. Parents whose children enter these contests claim that their wards gain confidence through performing. They also claim that they are better prepared for life and will be more socially comfortable. They further boast that these children mature at a younger age than normal children do. Why would any parent want their children to grow up any faster than they already do? One wonders. Moreover, beauty pageants are not the only way in which a child at such a young age can gain confidence. The only confidence that a child at 18 months needs to gain is eating on her own, standing up on her own, and the confidence that her family loves her. If these children learn these three things, they will most likely have great self-confidence. On the other hand, take the child who loses the pageant. There are visible effects that the child shows. She thinks less of herself and feels that she has let her parents down. An argument in favor of pageants for children, that children gain confidence and that they mature early, is mentioned and refuted. A counterpoint that such contests may damage the self-confidence of children is made. Okay, next part. Parents entering children into beauty pageants to help pay for college is also terribly wrong. They're teaching their kids that the only way to get money is through flaunting their looks. A second argument for child beauty contests, that such contests help fund college education, is mentioned and refuted. Next, even the argument that the children themselves want it sounds unconvincing, as it is difficult to believe that a child wants to be a doll on display when she can barely even talk. Yet the hours that the child and her parents spend together while preparing for and participating in these contests are a great way for them to bond as long as they are both happy in what they're doing. A third argument for child beauty contests, that children participate in them out of their own interest, is mentioned and refuted. Next, with all of the time that the child is putting into practicing and reciting, she has very little time to play with other children and learn important life skills. Also, if children are spending so much time on pageants, they are missing out on years of joyful childhood activities like trick or treat and Easter egg hunting because they are too busy watching their figures. A second counterpoint that child models lose out on their childhood is made. Next part. Exploitation in child beauty pageants. It is now 5 p.m. on Friday and Mary and Sarah are done with the first of the 3 long days. As little Sarah walks off the stage empty-handed, she looks at her mom with teary eyes as if she has failed both herself and her mom. As stated before, many children like Sarah around the world are forced into beauty pageants each year. Children at such a young age do not have the ability to handle failure. All little Sarah sees are other children leaving the stage with a sparkling trophy and their parents running over and giving them a big hug while she walks off the stage with nothing and sees her parents turning away. Children's beauty pageants have been blown way out of proportion and are causing irreparable harm to these little young women. Hence, there is a need for all the stakeholders involved to work towards saving these girls' futures. The author goes back to the individual case mentioned in the first paragraph and makes the concluding statement. Task 8. Write essays on the following topics in about 350 to 400 words each. Are social media apps like Facebook and LinkedIn useful in any way, or are they a waste of time? Write an essay outlining your position on this topic. Number 2. Machines using artificial intelligence can become a threat to human society. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Page 102. Pressy writing. A pressy is a concise version of a larger text. It is a summary of a text in which the tone, proportions, and meaning of the original text are carefully maintained. Hence, it is more precise than a summary. A pressy enables a person to grasp the main points of the text and therefore contains a condensed restatement of the main points or ideas. The length of the pressy should be approximately 1/3 of that of the original. Pressy writing develops the following skills. It helps understand the substance of lengthy texts, develops the ability to identify and summarize the main points, trains one in distinguishing between important and superfluous ideas, promotes a skill of organizing and sequencing information, and encourages the use of relevant and precise vocabulary. To write an effective pressy, the following steps will be helpful. Number 1. Reading the material. Read the passage once or twice to understand the gist or main ideas. Read the passage once again to see how the supporting details relate to the main ideas. Make notes if necessary. Select the important points and write them down in your own words as an outline. Check with the original passage to see if any point has been missed. Number 2. Writing the Pressy. While largely following the same organization as in the original passage, make sure that the ideas follow each other in a logical manner. Use relevant transition signals and discourse markers to showcase this. Avoid superfluous details, for example, illustrations, facts, etc. Try and use your own words while writing the Pressy. However, you can use a few subject-specific keywords from the passage. Avoid selecting a few detached sentences from the original to form the Pressy. A Pressy should be written in the third person. So, if the first person has been used in the passage, change it to the third person. Sometimes a Pressy may be required to have a title. Task 9. Read this passage and identify the points to be included in the Pressy. Canning is a popular modern-day method of preserving food in which items such as preserves, sauces, and purees are processed and sealed in airtight containers. Canning provides a shelf life that typically ranges from 1 to 5 years, although under specific circumstances, it can be much longer. For example, a freeze-dried canned product such as canned dried lentils could last for as long as 30 years in an edible state. In the 1970s, samples of canned food from the wreck of a steamboat that had sunk in a river in the United States in the 1860s were tested by the National Food Processors Association. Although appearance, smell, and vitamin content had deteriorated, there was no trace of microbial growth. In fact, surprisingly, the more than 100-year-old food was determined to be safe to eat. These are 134 words. Let us now consider every sentence in the paragraph in Task 9 and see how the text can be summarized. The main idea is canning, a method to preserve food for longer duration. We have sentences in the paragraph with keywords underlined and reworded sentences for the Pressy. Canning is a popular modern-day method of preserving food in which items such as preserves, sauces, and purees are processed and sealed in airtight containers. That's 25 words. When it is reworded for the Pressy, canning is a method to process and preserve food in airtight containers. That's 12 words. Next, canning provides a shelf life that typically ranges from 1 to 5 years, although under specific circumstances, it can be much longer. For example, a freeze-dried canned product such as canned dried lentils could last for as long as 30 years in an edible state. That is 45 words. It can be reworded as canning provides a longer shelf life, 6 words. Note, the example of dried lentils has been dropped to save words. Next, in the 1970s, samples of canned food from the wreck of a steamboat that had sunk in a river in the United States in the 1860s were tested by the National Food Processors Association. That's 34 words. This can be reduced to Samples of canned food from a boat that sank in the 1860s were tested in the 1970s. That's how many words? "17 words. I'm sorry that they've missed the definite article "the" before 1860s and 1970s. Okay, you can add them, and that would make it 17 words. Next, although appearance, smell, and vitamin content had deteriorated, there was no trace of microbial growth. In fact, surprisingly, the more than 100-year-old food was determined to be safe to eat, and that's 29 words. This can be reworded as the food was determined to be safe for consumption. That's 9 words. Since the Pressy is supposed to be 1/3 of the original passage, we must rephrase our reworded sentences so that the word limit of 45 can be maintained. So, canning is a method to process and preserve food in airtight containers to provide a longer shelf life. For instance, when samples of canned food from a boat that sank in the 1860s were tested in the 1970s, they were found to be safe for consumption. You would notice that we have omitted some details which may appear to be important. For instance, details of where the steamboat sank, who tested the samples, and the deterioration in appearance, smell, and vitamin content. Pressy writing involves distilling the main ideas and expressing them in a condensed manner. Therefore, in the interest of brevity, points that are not directly linked to the main idea must be ignored. Hence, the real skill of Pressy writing lies in 2 factors: the ability to discriminate between important and unimportant ideas and organizing them sequentially or logically.